The roar of the stadium crowd hit Easton like a blindside tackle, a wall of sound that drowned out the pounding of his heart. But it was the coach's voice, low, venomous, slicing through the chaos, that finally shattered him. "You're off the field. We don't play with distractions like you anymore." In that frozen instant, as the whistle blew and his cleats stuck in the mud of Ohio State's sold-out stadium, Easton realized his truth had just cost him everything. The game, the glory, the brotherly bond of the team he'd bled for since freshman year. Easton Hayes had always been the golden boy of Buckeye Heights, that forgotten speck of a town in central Ohio where cornfields stretched like endless regrets and Friday nights under the floodlights were the only religion that mattered. At 22, he was the starting quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes, a 6 feet 3 inches tower of muscle and Midwestern grit, with a cannon arm that had scouts whispering NFL first-round dreams. His stats were poetry: 4,200 passing yards last season, 28 touchdowns, and a completion rate that made defensive coordinators weep into their playbooks. But beneath the shoulder pads and the Heisman buzz, Easton carried a secret heavier than any blitz, one that gnawed at him during lonely bus rides back from away games, when the adrenaline faded and the what-ifs clawed their way up from his gut. It started innocently enough, or so he told himself in the quiet hours before dawn, when the dorm room smelled of stale Gatorade and regret. High school sweethearts, awkward fumblings in the back of pickup trucks, none of it had ever felt right. Not the way it did in the stolen glances across the locker room. There was Riley, the wiry wide receiver with the crooked grin and laugh lines that crinkled like autumn leaves, or Marcus, the linebacker whose bear hugs lingered a beat too long after a win. But Easton buried it deep, because in Buckeye Heights, being gay wasn't just taboo, it was treason. His dad, a steelworker who'd lost his job to some factory shutdown in '08, had drilled it into him: men don't cry, son. And they sure as hell don't love like that. Football was the escape, the altar where Easton could prove his worth, where sweat and strategy drowned out the ache in his chest. College changed the rhythm. Columbus was a bigger beast, with dive bars thumping bass into the night and pride flags fluttering from sorority balconies during June parades. Easton tested the waters his sophomore year, downloading Grindr on a whim during finals week, heart-hammering as he swiped through profiles that felt like mirrors to his own hidden hunger. That's when he met Theo. Theo, 24. A grad student in film studies with olive skin, messy black curls, and eyes like smoked whiskey, eyes that saw right through Easton's bravado the night they met at a dimly lit coffee shop off High Street. Theo wasn't from Ohio, he was LA transplant. All sharp wit and unapologetic flair, quoting James Baldwin over lattes while Easton's knee bounced under the table. "You're holding back," Theo had said that first night, his fingers brushing Easton's across the scarred wooden table, sending sparks up his arm that no touchdown celebration ever had. "Like you're waiting for permission to breathe." Easton laughed it off then, but the words stuck, burrowing like roots. They spent stolen weekends in Theo's cramped apartment, bodies tangled in sheets that smelled of patchouli and takeout Thai. Theo's touch was revelation, gentle at first, exploratory, then fierce, mapping every scar and freckle on Easton's body with lips and whispers that coaxed out confessions Easton hadn't even admitted to himself. "I love you," Theo murmured one rain-lashed afternoon, as they lay spent on the fire escape, Columbus sprawling below like a glittering promise. Easton froze, the words a lifeline and a noose all at once. Me too. It was the closest he'd come to freedom. But football loomed eternal. Coach Harlan Reeves, a silver-haired tyrant with a jaw like granite and a Bible verse tattooed on his forearm, ran the Buckeyes like a boot camp for the soul. "This team's a family," he'd bark during film sessions. His voice gravel over steel. "And families don't tolerate weakness." Easton thrived under it. Or so he thought. Until the whispers started. A teammate catching him staring too long at Riley during drills. A leaked Snapchat from Theo's story. Blurry but unmistakable, Easton mid-laugh. Arms slung around another guy's waist at a pride rally he'd sworn was just for research. The benching came mid-season. Game 7 against Michigan. No. Not just any Michigan. The Michigan. The rivalry that turned grown men into howling animals. The Buckeyes were up 21-10 in the third quarter. Easton threading needles through the Wolverines' secondary like it was child's play. Then, halftime. Coach pulled him aside in the tunnel. The air thick with the stench of Benghazi and desperation. "Son," Harlan said, his eyes hard as the turf beneath their feet. "There's talk. It's about you and preferences." The word hung like a guillotine. Easton's stomach plummeted. He'd planned to come out on his own terms, maybe after the championship, or hell, after graduation. But the team captain, Brock, the golden retriever of a fullback who'd been Easton's roommate since pledges, had overheard something in the showers. With his easy charm and evangelical youth group on Sundays, who'd promised bro code eternal. By the time the second half kicked off, Easton was suited up on the sidelines, helmet in hand, watching Brock take the snaps. The crowd's cheers twisted into a dull roar in his ears. Every "Go Bucks" a fresh stab. Theo texted from the stands, "What's happening?" "I'm here." Easton couldn't reply, his thumbs shook too hard. The final score was 35-24. Buckeyes win. But victory tasted like ash. In the locker room, high fives skipped him like he was invisible. Riley clapped his shoulder once. Awkward and fleeting, "You good, man." But Brock wouldn't meet his eyes. Towel slung low around his hips as he bolted for the showers. That night, alone in his dorm with the game highlights looping mockingly on ESPN, Easton cracked. He called Theo, voice breaking like a teenager's. "They benched me. Because of us. Because I'm me." Theo's response was a lifeline. "Then fight it, Easton. Or walk away. But don't let them define you." Walk away? From the dream that had defined him since he could grip a spiral? Easton hung up, fists clenched, and did the only thing that made sense in the wreckage. He went public. The Instagram post went viral before dawn. A simple black and white photo of him in his scarlet jersey, rainbow armband cinched tight. Caption, "I'm gay. I've always been. And I'm still your quarterback." By morning, Easton out-trended nationwide. Fox Sports panels erupting in hot takes. His follower count exploding from 50K to 500,000. Teammates flooded his DMs, some with fire emojis and "proud of you," others with crickets that echoed louder than boos. But betrayal has teeth. Brock cornered him in the weight room 2 days later, barbell clanging like Judgment Day. "You think this is brave?" Brock hissed, veins bulging in his neck. "You just tanked the season. Coach is benching you for good. And the boosters? They're pulling funding if we don't clean this up." Easton's blood ran cold. his best friend, the one who'd covered for his late nights with Theo, now twisting the knife. "I told them everything," Brock admitted, eyes darting like a cornered animal. "To protect the team. You get that, right? Family first." The words landed like a sack from behind. Easton shoved past him, bow rising, the mirror in the locker room reflecting a stranger, hollow-cheeked, eyes shadowed with the weight of what he'd lost. Theo met him outside, pulling him into a hug that smelled of rain and resolve. "We'll get through this," Theo whispered. But Easton's mind was a storm. What if we don't? What if love costs everything? As the weeks blurred, practice became purgatory. Coach Harlan's playbook revisions sidelined Easton to scout duty, clipboard in hand while Brock fumbled snaps under the lights. The media circus swelled, reporters staking out his dorm, alumni donors flooding his inbox with prayers laced with poison. One night, after a brutal film breakdown where Harlan tore into his distractions, Easton drove to the old high school field in Buckeye Heights, the one where his dad had taught him to hike the ball. He sat on the bleachers, football cradled in his lap, tears carving tracks down his face. But, the stars above offered no answers. Just the vast American sky, indifferent as ever. Theo found him there at midnight, headlights cutting through the dark like a promise. "You can't keep running to ghosts," Theo said, sliding onto the cold metal beside him. They kissed under the goalposts, slow and desperate, Easton's hands fisting in Theo's hoodie as if anchoring to the only real thing left. But even that felt fragile, cracked by the fear that his worlds, football and freedom, could never collide without shattering. Little did Easton know, the fracture lines were spreading, not just in his heart, but across the team. Whispers in the huddle, sidelong glances during drills, something was brewing, undercurrent of loyalty he couldn't yet see. The nation watched, breath held, as the Buckeyes geared up for the Big Ten championship. Easton, benched and broken, wondered if he'd ever throw another pass. But in the shadows of the stadium, his brothers were plotting a play that would rewrite the rules. The Big Ten championship loomed like a guillotine over Columbus, the air electric with playoff fever and the acrid tang of impending betrayal. Easton moved through the days like a ghost in scarlet and gray, his once unshakable routine reduced to solitary runs along the Scioto River, where the water's murmur drowned out the echo of Brock's confession. Theo became his harbor, their nights a tangle of whispered reassurances and fevered touches that chased away the chill. "You're more than this game," Theo would say, tracing the line of Easton's jaw with fingertips calloused from camera grips. "You're the story worth telling." But Easton, staring at the ceiling fans whirring like accusatory eyes, couldn't shake the hollowness. Football wasn't just a game, it was the language of his blood, the rhythm his father had beaten into him with drills and dreams deferred. Campus life turned feral. Protests erupted outside the athletic department, rainbow-clad undergrads chanting "Love Wins," clashing with tailgate diehards waving signs scrawled with slurs that burned hotter than stadium hot dogs. Easton's phone buzzed nonstop, glad invites, podcast offers, a tearful voicemail from his mom back home, her voice thick with the accent of Corn Belt comfort. "Your dad's processing, honey. But he loves you." "We both do." Processing. The word tasted like pity. Dad hadn't called since the post, his silence a chasm wider than the Grand Canyon. Worse were the teammates. Riley, the wideout with the golden retriever energy, started leaving protein shakes in Easton's locker, silent olive branches wrapped in foil. Marks. The linebacker grunted encouragements during lifts. Keep your head up. QB. We need that fire. But Brock? Brock was a shadow. Avoiding eye contact in the cafeteria. His laughs forced during team meetings. Easton caught him once. In the film room. Scrolling through comment sections on his phone, faggot ruined the team. Trade him to Canada. Brock slammed the screen down when he saw Easton, face flushing crimson. It's not me. The noise. The noise was deafening. ESPN ran segments titled, The Easton Effect, Distraction or Catalyst, with talking heads debating his sexuality like it was a fourth down call. Pundits from the heartland called him a woke warrior, poisoning the sport. Coastal liberals crowned him a martyr. His face plastered on Out magazine's digital cover. Through it all, Coach Harlan played the stoic patriarch, stonewalling pressers with grunts about focus and tradition. Off the record, though, he cornered Easton after a brutal scrimmage, where Easton, relegated to third-string water boy, watched Brock overthrow passes like a rookie. This isn't personal. Hayes, Harlan growled, his breath reeking of black coffee and bitterness. It's business. The AD's breathing down my neck. Sponsors. You get it. Did he? Easton nodded. Throat tight. But inside, rage simmered, a slow boil fed by every sideline snap, every forced smile. That rage found an outlet in Theo's arms. Their lovemaking turning urgent, almost punishing. One evening, after a rally where Easton spoke haltingly to a crowd of supporters, I'm not broken, I'm just beginning, they tumbled into bed. Bodies slick with the day's adrenaline. Theo pinned him down, eyes fierce, let it out. All of it. Easton did, gasping Theo's name like a prayer as waves crashed over him. Release mingling with sobs he couldn't hold back. Afterward, curled against Theo's chest, heartbeat sinking like a perfect handoff, Easton whispered, "What if they never forgive me?" Theo's laugh was soft. Said, "Forgiveness isn't the goal. Living is." But living felt like dying by inches. The betrayal deepened when Easton stumbled on the group chat leak, screenshots circulating on Reddit's r/CFB. Anonymous but unmistakable. Brock's texts, Easton screwing us all. Told coach everything to save the season. Brothers before. Whatever. The chat exploded with fire emojis from the offensive line. A few hesitant dude. That's cold from the D-line. Easton read it in the library stacks. Knees buckling against the shelves. The weight of brotherhood curdling into something poisonous. He confronted Brock that night in the parking lot behind the rec center. Sodium lights casting long shadows like accusatory fingers. "You sold me out," Easton said. Voice steady but fists balled at his sides. Brock leaned against his truck, keys jingling nervously. "It was for the team." "You dropped a bomb, how was I supposed to?" "For the team." Easton's laugh cracked like thunder. "Or for your daddy's checkbook. I saw the boosters' emails." "Your pops is on the board, right? Pushing for cleanup?" Brock flinched. The hit landing true. His father, a Columbus real estate mogul, had season tickets in the president's box and a homophobic streak wider than the Olentangy. "You think I wanted this? You're my brother." "But this. It's bigger than us. Family first," Easton spat, echoing Brock's earlier venom. turned away, the gravel crunching under his sneakers like brittle bones, but not before seeing the flicker of regret in Brock's eyes. Too late. The fracture was complete. As championship week dawned, the pressure cooker hissed. Practices ramped up, the air thick with unspoken tensions. Distant, still benched, volunteered for extra film work, poring over Michigan State's tendencies until his eyes burned. He caught glimpses of solidarity, Riley slipping him a mixtape of hype tracks, Marcus inviting him to a low-key poker night that turned into heart-to-hearts over cheap beer. "We got your back," Marcus rumbled, dealing cards with hands like hams. Even if Coach is a fossil, it mended something in Easton, a thread of hope weaving through the hurt. Theo sensed the shift. They took a drive up to Hocking Hills one crisp November afternoon, leaves ablaze in reds and golds like the fire in Easton's chest. Hiking the trails, hands brushing, Theo filmed snippets on his phone, Easton laughing freely for the first time in weeks, wind tousling his hair. "This is the real you," Theo said, pocketing the camera. Not the jersey. Not the headlines. They made love in a secluded clearing. The earth cool beneath them. Sky vast above. A moment of pure, unscripted grace. "I love you," Easton said again, meaning it deeper than before. The words no longer a question but a vow. Back in Columbus, the storm gathered. Rumors swirled. The team was fracturing. Morale in the toilet. Scouts downgrading prospects left and right. Coach Harlan called a mandatory team meeting the night before the game. The locker room humming with unease. Easton sat in the back, invisible, as Harlan paced like a caged lion. "This season's on the line. The distractions end tomorrow. We play for the ring. For Ohio. For each other." Nods rippled through the room, but Easton's gaze locked on Brock, who stared at his cleats. Jotted. What Harlan didn't know, what Easton couldn't have foreseen, was the mutiny brewing in the shadows. Riley, the quiet instigator, had rallied the offense in a late-night diner huddle. "Easton's our heart. We bench him. We bench all of us." Marcus signed on. Then half the D-line. Even a few walk-ons. Brock held out longest, guilt gnawing like acid. But by dawn, even he cracked, texting the group, "Let's do this." Game day arrived under a slate-gray sky. The horseshoe packed to bursting with 105,000 souls hungry for blood. Easton suited up out of habit, though his name wasn't on the depth chart. Theo waited in the family section, camera ready, heart in his throat. As the teams took the field for warm-ups, the nation tuned in, CBS cameras sweeping the sidelines, announcers speculating, "Hayes benched again, can the Buckeyes rebound without their star?" Then, the shockwave. As the coin toss loomed, the entire Ohio State offense, 22 strong, from Brock to the third-string tight ends, linked arms in the end zone. Not the standard huddle. This was deliberate, defiant. Riley stepped forward, mic'd up for the broadcast, voice steady over the speakers. "Before we play, the Buckeyes have a statement." The crowd hushed, a murmur rippling like wind through wheat. "We're playing for Easton Hayes," Riley said, eyes finding his QB on the sideline. "He's our brother. Our leader. And he's gay. So are some of us. Doesn't change a damn thing. We love him. We stand with him," gasps echoed. Then cheers, scattered at first, building to a thunderous wave as Brock raised his fist, tears streaking his game face. "For Easton," he roared, and the line echoed it back. Coach Harlan's face blanched on the jumbotron, mouth agape. The AD in the box scrambled for his phone. Nationwide. Jaws dropped, tweets exploding, networks cutting to commercial in stunned silence. Easton stood frozen, tears blurring the field, as his team, his family, turned the bench into a banner. But the real play was yet to come. As kickoff neared, Harlan stormed the field, barking orders, but the offense held formation. Jerseys a rainbow of solidarity under the gray. "Put him in," Brock demanded, voice carrying on the feed. "Or we walk." The coach's empire teetered. In that electric standoff, with the nation watching, Harlan relented, not with grace, but with the grudging nod of a man cornered. "Hayes, you're starting," Easton jogged out, helmet under arm. The crowd's roar a baptism. Theo's scream pierced from the stands, a note of pure joy. As the huddle formed, Brock's hand on his shoulder, Riley's grin fierce, Easton called the play, "For us. All of us." The snap came clean, his arm a blur, the ball spiraling true into Riley's hands for 20 yards and a first down. The game was poetry in motion after that, Easton slinging touchdowns like confessions, the defense swarming with renewed fire. Final score, Buckeyes 42. Spartans 28. But the points on the board paled against the victory off it. In the locker room, soaked in Gatorade and brotherhood, Brock pulled Easton aside. "I'm sorry. For everything." Easton hugged him, the betrayal scar fading to a story they'd tell their kids. "We're good," he said, and meant it. Yeah. As confetti rained and cameras flashed, a shadow lingered. Harlan watched from the door, eyes narrowed, plotting his next move. And Theo, waiting in the tunnel, held a secret of his own, one that would test Easton's heart like never before. The championship win catapulted Ohio State into the college football playoff. But for Easton, the real semifinal was the one raging in his soul. The team's stand had gone supernova, Buckeye pride exploding across social media, with memes of the linked arm huddle going viral faster than a flea flicker. Late-night shows monologued it, Kimmel calling it the gayest great moment in sports since ever. Sports Illustrated dubbed Easton the outed outlier, his face on the cover mid-throw. Rainbow filters glowing. Donations poured into LGBTQ+ youth programs. His jersey sales spiked 300%. Scarlet fabric flying off shelves from Seattle to Savannah. But glory's afterglow is fleeting, especially when laced with fault lines. Coach Harlan, ever the tactician, played the long game. Publicly, he spun the unity narrative in pressers, arm around Easton's shoulders like a proud papa. This team's stronger for it. Love wins. Folks. Privately, he iced Easton out, subtle cuts, like assigning him extra conditioning while Brock got the glory reps. Or accidentally omitting his name from MVP shortlists. Politics, Harlan muttered once, when Easton pressed him after a walkthrough. The boosters want a clean image. Not controversy. The word stung. A reminder that acceptance was conditional, doled out like trick plays. Theo, bless him, was the bomb. Their life post-come-out bloomed in quiet rebellions, brunches at Betty's with mimosas and musing on Baldwin, drives to Cincy for underground queer poetry slams, where Easton's hand in Theo's felt like flipping off the heartland. Sex evolved. 2. Less frantic. More sacred. Mornings tangled in sunlight where Theo's fingers traced Easton's tattoos. Whispering futures, after graduation. You in the pros? Me directing docs on guys like you. Easton dreamed it, even as doubt whispered too good to last. The Betrayal's second act hit during Peach Bowl prep. A humid December grind that left cleats caked in red clay. Easton found the email buried in his inbox spam, anonymous sender. Subject, your boyfriend's audition tape. Curiosity? That old devil. Clicked it open. Attached, a grainy video. Timestamp 2 weeks back. Theo. In a sleek LA hotel room. Laughing with a producer type, mid-30s. Chiseled like a CW heartthrob, before the camera rolled. It was an audition reel for some indie flick. But the intimacy. The intimacy. Theo's hand on the guy's thigh. A kiss that lingered past professional, whispers Easton couldn't hear but felt in his gut like a fumble. His world tilted. He replayed it in the empty film room. Volume low. Each frame a knife twist. Who is he? The credits rolled. Theo Vasquez? Playing the lover opposite up-and-coming actor Julian Reyes. Julian. With his easy smile and rumored bisexuality splashed across page 6. Easton slammed the laptop shut. Chest heaving. Betrayal blooming hot and ugly. Not Brock's calculated stab. This was visceral. A lover's lie. Theo had flown to LA for family stuff, he'd said. Auditions? With that, confrontation came that night in Theo's apartment. Snow flurrying against the windows like frantic thoughts. Easton burst in. Phone clutched like evidence. What the hell is this? Theo's face drained of color. Mid-stirring pasta sauce. It's not. You kissed him. Easton's voice broke. Raw as an open wound. On camera. For the world to see. While I'm fighting for us here. Theo sank onto the couch. Head in hands. It's a role. Easton. Method acting. The director pushed for authenticity. It meant nothing. But his eyes, those whiskey eyes, darted. Guilty. Easton paced. The room shrinking. Authenticity? Or did you like it? The attention? The normalcy without my baggage dragging you down? The fight escalated. Words weapons, Easton's insecurities flaring. I'm just the dumb jock. Right? Good for a quick fuck between your artsy conquests. Theo's defenses cracking. You think this is easy? Loving a guy who's half in the closet? Half on national TV. A vase shattered against the wall. Shards like their trust. Easton stormed out into the blizzard. Theo's pleas chasing. I love you. Only you. He drove aimlessly. Ending up at the stadium. Empty under sodium glow. Sitting on the 50-yard line. Turf prickling through his jeans. Easton wept, great. Gulping sobs that echoed off the stands. Everyone leaves. Dad's silence. Brock's sellout. Now Theo's method. Football. His anchor. Felt adrift too. Scouts whispered about durability post-drama. Nil deals drying up. Was love always this? A beautiful tackle that leaves you winded? Dawn brought fragile peace. Riley texted, team huddle at the diner. 7 a.m. Your call. Easton dragged himself there. Point. To find the offense crammed into a booth, pancake steaming. coffee black as their resolve. We heard about the fight, Marcus said gently, sliding him a mug. Theo's a good dude. Talk it out. Brock nodded. Tentative. I know about messing up. Let me help. They did. Raw stories spilling. Riley's closeted uncle who died by suicide. Marcus's cousin in the military. Discharged under don't ask. We're your family, Brock said. Flaws and all. The words mended a stitch. Easton called Theo that afternoon. Voice steadier. We need to talk. For real. They met at the river. Bundled against the cold. Words tumbling like rapids. Theo confessed. The kiss was a lapse. Insecurity fueled. I saw you slipping back into that shell. And I panicked. Thought if I proved I could pass. Easton listened. Hurt easing into understanding. No more secrets, he said, pulling Theo close. Their kiss was tentative, then fierce. Forgiveness tasted like frost and hope. But the playoffs demanded blood. The Peach Bowl against Oregon was a slugfest. Rain lashed and brutal. Easton's arm a metronome through the downpour. Down 17-10 in the fourth. Facing third and long. He audibled to a slant, Brock blocking like a demon. Riley hauling in the grab for the tying score. Overtime heroics followed, Easton's bootleg keeper into the end zone. The roar seismic. Postgame. Theo enveloped him in the end zone. Kiss unscripted. Cameras be damned. That's my quarterback, he murmured. And Easton believed it. National semis beckoned. But so did Harlan's shadow. In a closed-door meeting, the coach dropped the bomb. AD's forcing my hand. You're benched for the fiesta. Rest for the title game. The room spun. Why? Easton demanded. Harlan's sigh was weary. Politics. Big money donors want stability. Coming out spooked him. Betrayal. Round 3, from the man who'd molded him. Easton walked out. Fire in his veins. Straight to the AD's office. If I'm out? The team's out, he said. Phone recording. The AD blanched. But Easton was done playing nice. Word spread like wildfire. By evening, the team echoed it, offense threatening walkout. D-line drafting a petition. Media frenzy reignited, Buckeyes mutiny? Harlan called an emergency huddle. Face ashen. This ends now. But Brock stepped up. No. It starts. The demand, start Easton. Or forfeit. Harlan relented. Grudging. But the gesture cracked his armor. Fine. But win it for the program. As the Fiesta Bowl dawned in Glendale's glare, Easton stood taller, Theo's hand in his pregame. The nation watched. Not just for the snap count, but for the soul of the sport. What they didn't know, Theo's secret wasn't betrayal, but a ring in his pocket, a proposal timed for victory's high. And as the whistle blew, Easton threw not just passes, but his whole heart. Glendale's desert sun beat down on State Farm Stadium like a relentless interrogator, turning the Fiesta Bowl into a crucible of sweat and salvation. Easton gripped the ball in warm-ups. Leather warm against his palm. The weight familiar yet foreign, every spiral a defiance of the bench that had nearly broken him. The crowd's chant, "Diston, ton," rolled in waves. A tide of redemption that drowned out the doubters. Oregon's Ducks. Flashy and fast. paced their sideline with peacock strut, but Easton's eyes were on his brothers, Brock's nod of ironclad loyalty, Riley's wink promising yards after catch, Marcus's roar priming the D for war. Theo watched from the stands, heart a drum solo, the velvet box burning a hole in his jacket pocket. If we win this, if he wins this, the thought was a prayer, fragile as the snowflakes Columbus had left behind. He'd rehearsed the words 100 times in the mirror, marry me. Build that life. No more auditions. No more hiding. But doubt lingered. A whisper amid the cheers, what if the game's ghost haunts us forever? Kickoff was fury. Oregon struck first, a 75-yard bomb on the opening drive. Their QB threading the needle like it was mercy. 7-0. Easton's jaw set, calling plays with the precision of a man reborn. First possession, a draw to Brock rumbling for 12. Then Easton's play-action fake freezing the safety. Riley streaking free for a 40-yard strike. Tie game. The stadium erupted, but Easton felt Harlan's gaze from the booth, wary, praising, a coach weighing if his prodigal was worth the prod. The half seesawed, defenses snarling like alley cats. Down 14-10 at the break. Locker room air thick with salt and strategy. Harlan pulled Easton aside. No gruff pep talk this time, the man's voice cracked. Just a hair. I was wrong. About a lot. You're coming out. It showed me what family's really about. Don't let me bench your spirit again. Easton nodded. Throat tight, forgiveness not easy, but possible. We win this together. Coach. Harlan's clap on his shoulder was genuine. The first crack in the old guard's wall. Second half was apocalypse football, fumbles in the red zone, picks dancing on fingertips, a blocked punt that flipped field position like a coin toss. Tied 24-24 with 1:52 left. Oregon ball at their 28. Easton's D swarmed, Marcus sacking the QB on third down, forcing a punt. The return set the Bucks at midfield. Clock ticking like a bomb. Huddle tight. Breath sinking. This is it, Easton said. Eyes locking on each face, scars and stories etched in sweat. For the loves we've hidden. The ones we've claimed. Go Bucks. The snap, screen to Riley. Shimmying for 15. Clock, 1:20. Hike, slant to the slot. Brock rumbling after catch to the 22. 45. Crowd on feet. A living beast. Final play call, shotgun. Max protect, fade to the corner. Riley one-on-one. Easton dropped back. Pocket collapsing like a bad dream. The duck corner, blitzed untouched. Easton spun out. Feet dancing on live coals. Eyes finding Riley's route. The throw. Arcing grace, hit mitts at the pylon. Touchdown. Undefeated. The pylon was biblical, teammates burying him in joy. Gatorade showers turning the turf to a scarlet sea. 31-24 final. National semis bound. But this was legend. In the chaos, Theo slipped down, weaving through jubilant fans. Box clutched like contraband. Easton emerged from the scrum. Helmet off. Hair matted. Grin splitting his face. Their eyes met, love's gravity pulling them close amid the roar. You did it, Theo breathed. Then dropped to one knee. The ring glinting like a promise under stadium lights. Easton Hayes, quarterback of my heart. Marry me. Let's shock the world together. Time suspended. Easton's breath hitched, tears mixing with triumph. The crowd hushed. Sensing the moment, phones up. A new viral brewing. Yes, he choked out, pulling Theo up into a kiss that tasted of salt and forever. Cheers exploded anew. Rainbow flags unfurling from the upper decks. The nation witnessing not just a proposal, but the proclamation. Post-game, the presser was catharsis. Harlan at the podium first. Easton's not just a player, he's a pioneer. This team's his heart and soul. Questions flew about the benching, the stand, the ring. Distant. Theo's hand in his under the table spoke from the gut. Football taught me brotherhood. Coming out taught me love. And this man? He taught me grace. Flashes popped. But Easton's truth shone brighter. Back home, the whirlwind spun on. The Orange Bowl semi was a rout, Easton dissecting Alabama's secondary like a surgeon. 380 yards and 3 scores sealing a title berth. But the Real win was the mending. Dad flew in for the game. Grizzled and gruff, pulling Easton into a hug that smelled of Old Spice and old wounds. Proud of you, son. For all of it. On what? Theo charmed them over Skyline Chili. Brock stood best man at the engagement party, toasting to second chances and third downs. The national championship in Atlanta was apotheosis. Against Georgia, under primetime glare, Easton threw for 420, the game-winning drive a masterclass, bootlegs, a 60-yard bomb to Riley as confetti loomed. 38-35. Overtime field goal. Champions. The trophy lift was symphony, teammates hoisting him high. Harlan's grin genuine. The dome shaking. Yet, in the quiet aftermath, as rings were sized and drafts loomed, Easton reflected on the cost. The benching had scarred, but it forged him stronger. Tua. NFL scouts called, but he eyed the Canadian League too. Whispers of a league pushing inclusivity. Theo's doc, out on the field, premiered at Sundance. Easton's story, its beating heart. Years later, married in a Columbus courthouse with rainbow boutonnieres. Easton coaching youth leagues, kids learning spirals and self-love. He'd look back on that rainy Michigan night. Not as loss, but launch. Betrayal's blade had cut deep, but from the wound grew a garden, love unbenchable, brotherhood unbreakable. In America's heartland, where fields whisper secrets to the wind, Easton Hayes proved that coming out isn't the endgame, it's the opening drive. And his team's shock? It didn't just stun the nation, it changed it. One heartfelt huddle at a time.